So, welcome back to the show, everyone. Today's guest is someone who I have been so unbelievably excited to speak with. We've been connected for just a few years. Steph Tan is the founder of Nooci, which is just this beautifully modern wellness brand rooted in traditional Chinese medicine. She has such a diverse background in so many different avenues, but it really wasn't until her second pregnancy that she realized that quick solutions and over the counter fixes just weren't quite enough. She wanted something that was much more deeper, much more impactful, and could really help her to heal from the root, which is what Chinese medicine is all about. So, her own personal healing journey and, again, very diverse, interesting background became the seed for Nucci, which is a company that's very much redefining women's wellness by blending ancient Chinese herbs with cutting edge science that's really sleek and modern and accessible for who we are as people today. So, in today's conversation, I never totally know where it's going to go, but I imagine we're going to explore things along the lines of motherhood, entrepreneurship, and what it really means to find balance and care for yourself while building something that is so unbelievably big. So, I'd love to kind of turn back the clock a little bit, Steph, and kind of go back to that turning point during your second pregnancy when you realize that the things that you were previously relying on weren't totally working anymore. And, can you just kind of share what was happening for you then and how that experience sparked, the idea for Nucci?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Hannah. I'm super excited about being here. When I look back at my second pregnancy, it was so when I first moved back to Hong Kong, I had developed really bad nasal allergies. So I was taking over-the-counter drugs. I was literally like in the morning and at night, it was just my ritual. Like I pop pills as if I wasn't thinking about it for the last 10 years. And I had my doctor on call, right? And so he was like, "Oh, come back every 2 months, 3 months for me to readjust your formula," right? But what he was really doing was just adjusting the different pills and like upping my dosage. And I was doing nasal spray, and it just at some point you just do it like clockwork, right? You don't think about what you're putting into your body. And every so often I would set an intention, and I would, be like, it's the new year. I have to get off this medication. Like, it's just not good for me. So I tried all these different things along the way. I tried bioresonance therapy. I tried seeing like an allergy doctor, and they were like, okay, you need to cut out like this long list of things, right? So I was like, this isn't feasible. I love food. I can't do this. So I always resorted back to just taking the medication. And so it really took my second pregnancy for me, and it was mid-COVID. I thought, okay, I really must do something about this. And when I was Googling all these different remedies, and obviously it's very frustrating when you're just like, because so what would happen was I was sneezing all night long, right? And during the day, you just feel like so fatigued because you're just clogged up. And so I thought, okay, what what actually works, right? If all these other different, quick fixes, remedies, it was just very frustrating. So then I really reached back down to my roots in traditional Chinese medicine. And it was something that I thought, okay, well, my grandparents do it. And, I really grew up around that. But you forget your roots a lot of times, I think, and being in, I remember being in college, and, you're just like consumed with all these different things, and you just want like, okay, fast and quick. And, you're so used to that right now. So I sort of lost touch with my roots, I think, along the way. And then also with my parents, they were more of like, it was like my grandparents, they were super rooted in tradition, but with my parents, they really just embraced Western, like modern, right? And they thought, oh, traditional Chinese medicine, does it work? Is it safe? Like they were of that sort of camp, right? And so for me, it was really reaching down to like what my grandparents taught me and like what they sort of, what they did every day, and then blending the two together, and making, really looking at like, okay, what works, right? And how can we look at traditional Chinese medicine blended with science, right? And all the evidence that you have today, right? And that's really when I rediscovered traditional Chinese medicine. I'm not sure if I
That's
answered
so,
that question, but did I?
yeah. I always have women say that when I ask them a question. They're like, did I answer that? And I'm like, always. Whatever you say is exactly what you're meant to say, is exactly what women are meant to hear when they're listening. So, yes, you answered that beautifully. And I think it just sparked in my mind something that I think so many women can relate to. When you go through this healing journey, when you struggle with something in pregnancy, I mean, at any time, it's interesting because when you look back at what the process actually is, oftentimes it's just a path back home to your roots and back home to yourself. And I know for me that was very much the case, because similar to you, it's so interesting listening to you say this. Similar to you, my parents are very modern. My dad's Caucasian, my mother's Chinese Hawaiian, and me circling back to Chinese medicine in a lot of ways was like coming home to myself and coming home to this whole part of me that I'd been raised with a little bit, but I hadn't consciously known. So to kind of, again, to awaken to that part of you that moves through you, I don't even know how to say this. Like, it kind of rounds you out as a person, and it becomes like a part of your calling, and you realize that it's been a part of you through all of these generations, through all of these people. How I know that's kind of an off question. I wasn't sure if this is where we were going. I didn't think so, but how did that kind of reconnect you with your roots, with your respect to where you've come from? Like being such a modern woman, having lived in New York, having traveled the world, like it's interesting that it was this full circle moment coming back to Hong Kong and reconnecting with something that's such a big part of who you are. What was that like?
For me, I think, it was and especially being a mom today and having two young kids, right? I think it's really come full circle because I think you don't really realize, right, the power of all that sort of all these different things that are going, all the ingredients that are going into you, that, the sort of that upbringing and all like and reliving that, right? So I didn't realize that there was so much sort of tradition and history that I wanted to rediscover. And, like I love my soups and teas, but it's sort of like it helps you rediscover your love for that. Because obviously in college, I didn't make any soups and teas. Like I just went to, the cafeteria, and like, after when you have your first job, I mean, I had a slow cooker, but it was just not the same as my grandmother's soups, right? But now coming back, you can find time to find all these herbs and find all these ingredients and really bring that back and nourish your body. And then actually, like, what I love the most is teaching my kids about it, and also learning again, right, from, and simplifying certain things for them, right? And so it's really cool to, I think, I'm like, mommy used to drink this tea that grandma used to make that is actually super easy. This like very like it's like this pear tea with the chen pea, the dried tangerine peels, right? And it's really good for your sore throat. I'm like, it's not just about that cherry tasting cough medicine, right? And so it's really great to sort of learn and relive and pass that on. And so it's been a really special journey for me.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think that you just put it so eloquently and so concisely as well. Something that I joke about. One of my girlfriends who I've met through the Balanced Woman, she's Chinese, but her father was an acupuncturist, and she came to the Balanced Woman because she wanted to learn it for herself. What Chinese medicine is actually like, because her father had passed away, so she didn't really get a chance to learn it for herself. And one of the things that she always jokes about is she's like, I didn't know how Asian you actually are. And I always tell her, like, I'm more of a Chinese mom than my Chinese mom, because you rediscover these things and then you want to share them with people, because instead of it being this, again, this inaccessible thing, like my mother always talks about my popo and how she had, these jars of herbs that she would come down with when she was in postpartum, and she never really asked her what they were. She didn't really ask her. She just kind of took it like medicine. But to learn it for yourself and to understand that there's intention and purpose and meaning, and it's not just this, cherry flavored cough syrup that you have to take when you're sick. Instead, it's meant to nourish you in a very specific way. I think it creates a deeper sense of connection. And as a mother, it makes sense that that becomes so much more important because, again, you can't just, how do I say this? If you don't have Popo there to just tell you what to do, you have to figure it out for yourself. And when you're giving things to your babies, it's so important to have that, again, the consciousness and the know-how around it. So it's not just this passive thing, it's very active and very intentional. And remind me, I know you have two kids, boys, girls, how old are they now?
So I have one boy and one girl, and they're 4 and 6. So my daughter is the older one. So she really saw me build the business, right? And I think there's more and more of that understanding. She's like, Mommy, are you on a Nooci call? Like, or is that a new product, Mommy? Right? And she's there are supplements, right? So I'm like, you can't have them yet. She goes, when can I have some, Mommy? Right? And then she sees all the different things we do for content. So it's just so cool to have her watch and then also rediscover, I think, or really learn about her roots, right? And learn about all the different ingredients that I think when I was younger, there are the basic ingredients, and then they're like the harder to access ingredients. And so just like teaching her and like her being interested, and we cook all the time together. So it's like, it's really important, I think, that she knows what she's putting into her body, which I love.
Yeah. And I mean, they learn by watching, right? They're like sponges, they soak it all in. So seeing you and your relationship with these ingredients and how you take care of yourself, how you cook in the kitchen, like that really is like how they're learning to care for themselves. And with like the mothers I work with, that's one of the big things that I always emphasize, especially when they have daughters. And like how you care for yourself is how your daughters will care for you. And I know that it's, we all go through phases like you were talking about in college, for me as well. College was definitely a low point health-wise. We, we aren't taking as good of care of ourselves. But how I frame it for mothers and for women who say like, oh, like I don't have time, like I don't, I have to give so much of myself to my children, to my business, to my home, to my husband, I kind of come last. I ask them, do you want do you want your daughter to put herself last as well? Like, is that really like what you want to instill in her, that her needs come last? But you really, you're setting such a strong example for her and for your son, that when you are mindful about your nourishment and you're paying attention to your signs and symptoms and you're keeping balance in mind, that's ultimately the seeds that you're sowing and the plants that you're growing. So for you, I mean, it really happened in your second pregnancy, but how has it taken on new form, like your balance with work and motherhood and partnership? Like I know we talked about it a little bit before we jumped on the recording, but what does balance really look like for you these days? And how do you maintain it with all the craziness?
I mean, I think for me, it's a work in progress, right? Some days you feel like, hey, I'm doing really well, right? And you feel like everything is finally you're giving it, you've split up your time very well. And then there are other times where you feel like, I'm just in this funk. It's tipped, right? I've had a really great work week, but my kids haven't seen me. And my husband is like, where are you? And I feel like for me, it's still a work in progress, right? Every day. And this morning, I woke up and I was like, not feeling great, especially with what's happening in the world and everything's so divided these days. And and I woke up and I was like, okay, you need to listen to your body, right? And The young me would have just been like, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna like run as fast as I need to run. I need to like, I just like, what is my time? I would like track it and, in order to feel like I've done like a great workout. So I can check the box. But today I was like, okay, I just need to, go out for like a walk, and I listen to some music. I listen to like a podcast to help me. And I literally, today I was just like, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to listen to a podcast on positivity just to help my mind. And I came back and I was like, I care about my steps. But aside from that, I felt really great, right? And that was really a good way to start my day. And I felt a lot better, to be honest. And, old me would have been like, that's not good enough, right? But I think new me is so I celebrated my 41st birthday last month. And, for me, I'm like, oh my God, it's so old, right? But I think now is really the time where you know your body and what your body needs, whether it's something faster, something slower, something where you like really just give to yourself so you can show up and try to, show up for everybody, whether it's your partner, your kids, your work, your friends. So really just like listening and customizing to your body and your day.
Letting that be enough, right? Like I think that's something that a lot of women can relate to, is just that feeling of like, is it good enough? Is it good enough? Like it's not perfect, so is it good enough? But what you're talking about is just continuing to show up day in and day out, even for these little moments. And even if you're not getting like 10,000 steps in, you're like, I did go outside. I moved my body. I got fresh air. Like I took a second for myself to recalibrate and recenter. And maybe that's enough for today. And, we want it to be perfect. That's the part of us that is unbelievably motivated and dynamic and can just push through. Excellent at hustling. That is something that I think a lot of people are really, really good at. We're really good at just pushing our way through, not listening to our bodies, not listening to our energy, and just wanting to get to that final result and have it be good enough. But I think the moments that slow us down, the moments when we aren't feeling as good, when we are, lower in energy, when we go through something like these, chronic sinus issues or allergies or pregnancies, whatever it may be, like those moments are kind of built into our life, and it's our life's way and our body's way of just like slowing us down for a second so that we can breathe. And I mean, even relating that back to you, so that you can breathe, so that you're not sneezing day in and day out. And what I realized too, like with babies, is like they run on a slower clock. And it's those little moments that you really want to be present for. And when you build a business too, like that's your baby. It's not just about scaling your business and making, more money and reaching more people. It's also about the act of really enjoying the building process and being present for that. So I think that I mean, and just to frame it positively, like struggling with things health wise can actually be such a gift and such a blessing to just say, like, can it be good enough? Can you show up and be happy with that and just enjoy where you're at? Yeah. So I mean, for you, how are you really I don't know, how are you really carving out time for like these little moments and little rituals? And I know that's something that I think comes through really beautifully in what you offer and in your messaging, is just kind of building in these daily rituals and these little moments. What does that look like for you? And how does Nooci kind of allow you to have these little carved out spaces?
Yeah, I think, it's something that we all try to have a routine, right? So in my mind, there is some sort of routine where it's dropping the kid, waking up. I think waking up first, and then having a moment where the first thing you're doing is not checking your phone, right? I it's hard. And I actually like, I don't even put the phone. It used to live next to me, and the first thing I'm like, oh, I need to check my emails, right? But now I leave it away. And so I need to like, I take a moment in bed first where I really set my intention, and then I go and I reach for my phone. I have to step out to go to my phone, right? And then I think that and then you go by like, sending the kids to school, everything. And then having that moment where if you're having a good day and you feel like high in energy, you can go do that run or be, doing whatever that needs to be. Or it's doing like a slower walk or doing some yoga, whatever your body needs for you, right? And I think for me, like one of the things that I wanted for Nooci, right, is really the reaching and rediscovering traditional Chinese medicine and bringing that to the world. Traditionally, Chinese medicine, when you think about it in the most ancient terms, right? It's my grandmother is going to the herbal shop, picking up the herbs, they're boiling it for hours, right? And the whole house is very pungent. I think that that's like what you would think of. And it's a super acquired taste. It normally tastes very bitter. And so most people think, oh, the more bitter it is, the better it is, the more potent it is, right? But actually, and so with Nooci, we're taking that out, right? I think for what we want today is something that works, that is backed by science, but it doesn't have to taste that bad, right? It can, and it also, with today's technology, you can have it just on the go. So a lot of our remedies are in, capsules or in powders where you can take it, shake it up in your bottle and take it to go. So that's what I do. That's my ritual. Like I take it, I just like pour a sachet in. For some people they like to make into a smoothie. I just put it into hot water, or hot or warm water, which is my thing as well. And I take it on the go and I drink it while we're, going to the office or going to the gym, something like that. And that's just, it's different ways to shave off, some time and being more efficient in, certain things that you do so that you can save time to do the other things. And that's really what Nooci is about, to really hone in on something traditional that works. We're taking classical formulations and then making it easy for women or for anybody to integrate it into their daily lives.
Yeah, huge, huge. I mean, it's, I'm laughing because I grew up on Chinese herbs. So to me, they had like that nostalgia, where the whole house smells like it and you drink it. And so even now, like walking into an herbalist shop, it has that feeling. But when I first tried your products, I was like, oh my gosh, it still has that feeling. Not the bitterness, not the overly pungent smell or anything, but that same like very ritualized moment of taking something that's actually good for you and knowing that it's good for you. Like it's that pause and that feeling that I think is so again, so connective, but again, accessible, because that's one of the things that clients ask me all the time is, what herbs do you recommend? What herbs do you recommend? And I tend to kind of shy away from it because compliance is such a difficult thing because they are so strong tasting that women, they'll take them for a little while, but because it is so, if you don't love the taste of it, it is so abrasive that they'll take it for maybe a week, but then they don't want to take it anymore. Whereas what you're offering, like they taste good, like it smells good, it tastes good, it feels good. And so it's a way to access something that is rooted in this just ancient wisdom that has worked for thousands of years, but is actually accessible not just to the people who have the nostalgic association with it, so they kind of love it because it reminds them of their grandmother, but they can actually enjoy it at any time in any place. So I've always been such a huge fan of you and what you do and what you're offering, because it is such beautiful medicine that needs to be accessible. And even though what we do is very different, like I believe that the mission is the same, to make Chinese medicine accessible to everyone so that we can benefit from just how unbelievably powerful and truly transformative it is. Yeah. So, I mean, Steph, anything else that you would like to leave us with? Any words of
Yeah,
wisdom?
I totally agree, Hannah. I think that for me, I mean, people will take it, right? If it tastes good. I think that there's our what our grandparents were used to and what our parents are used to. And I think that for me, yeah, if you need me to take Chinese medicine for a week, maybe 2 weeks, okay, like I can get over with the bitterness, but I always need to pop a candy or some sort of chocolate afterwards, right? But if you're going to build up that routine, it really needs to taste like something that's not, that tastes good, right? So for our energy product, it tastes like green tea. And even though there is a slight hint of, I was talking to my uncle, he's like, what is that like? He's like, it's green tea, but there's something in the background. And I was like, that's probably the turkey tail mushroom. Like there is going to be some hint, or maybe that's also like the chinpea, the dried tangerine peel. He's like, oh, okay, there's like that slight hint of it that has to exist because we do work with Chinese herbs, and we're doing a new sleep product, and it's been in the works for I don't know, a year and a half now. But I was like, it needs to taste good, and we're still in formulation because there's all these different things, like it tastes good, but the consistency, it's too clumpy, and or you can add maltodextrin, and we're like, okay, that's not what I want to add to it. So for me, we can't compromise on quality, but we also need to make it taste good. So for us, it's really making sure that we're really sticking to our mission, or bringing great formulas that work, but making sure that it can reach people today where they are. Um, yes.
Yeah, it's trust, right? And that's something that I felt with you the very first time we spoke. And it's a gut feeling, right? That intuitive feeling where you're like, oh, I trust her. I trust you not only because you've been through this journey yourself, you've run into your own obstacles and you've overcome them, but that devotion to quality, that devotion to providing something that is actually impactful, that actually works is huge. We don't always find that. And I think that that's something that is really, really valuable in today's world. Like you're not just doing this because it's your business and you want to make money. You're doing this because it genuinely matters to you. And you're willing to put in the time and the money and the effort to make sure that it's, again, not only scientifically sound, but that the product that's being developed is something that will really resonate with the people who are purchasing it and using it. And also just a quiet note, I like tasting the medicine in the background. Like I like that it's not just a green tea flavor. Personally, like I want to know that those ingredients are in there, and having like that little hint, that little question. I also think that's a way to invite people into the more medicinal nature of the things that they're experiencing, and that our food gets to be medicine. So I think that it's fantastic. So just personal plug. I hope that you leave those little medicinal notes in the background because I like to know that they're there. But I mean, Steph, thank you so much for your time. I know how valuable it is, and it means a lot to be connected with you. So thank you
Thank
so
you
so much.
so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.